Welcome to the Dance Centre podcast. I am your host, Claire French, and I'm joining you from the traditional unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish and Tsleil-Waututh peoples, also known as Vancouver, Canada. I'll be talking to dancers, choreographers and other members of the dance world here on the West Coast to find out more about their creative work and practices and to discuss what it means to us to be dance professionals today. Thanks for joining us. Isaac Gasangwa, also known as Iso Dream Chaser, is an educator, creator and ambassador of African cultures in Vancouver. He is the founder of Afrobeats Van, an organization offering dance classes and performances as a way to introduce, educate and inspire Vancouverites to connect with African culture and history, as well as tackle social issues of racism and police brutality. Isaac was born and raised in Rwanda. In his late teens, after the 1994 Tutsi genocide, Rwanda and the whole of Africa changed. The internet had also arrived and developed many things, including dance. In 2007, Isaac started a dance group that won multiple national competitions. With community support, he created the first dance festival in Rwanda in 2011, as well as the first dance studio in the country. To help rebuild Rwanda after the genocide, he started a dance program for underprivileged children, and this program is still running and supporting those children who need it most. In 2014, Isaac had the opportunity to move to Vancouver, Canada, where he was introduced to a whole new world of dance. He trained in hip-hop, martial arts, and gymnastics, but the lack of diversity and any African representation was deeply unsettling for him. So in 2017, he founded and continues to direct Afrobeats Dance Van. Isaac's created events, performances, and seminars that celebrate African dance and artists. And in addition to Afrobeats Van, he also founded Black Vancouver Artistry Night in 2021 as an annual event to celebrate local creatives. Isaac is proud to be a pioneer of African culture in Vancouver, educating the community about the histories, cultures, and dances of his beloved African continent. So, thanks so much for agreeing to talk with me. I'm excited because, of course, I've started to take Afrobeats, so I'm like, it's so great. But this is a great opportunity, obviously, to talk about whatever you'd like to talk about. But I'd like, for listeners to get to know a little bit about you in your own words, with your voice, your history, what you're up to in Vancouver, and of course, the work that you're going to be presenting in September. And so your languages then, you speak so many languages, like remind me the languages you speak and how did that happen?
It's weird. Like the way Africa is very interesting. Let's say, for example, for Vancouver, if you live in Surrey, there's a language in Surrey. Let's say we speak English, but then in Surrey they have their own variation of English, and then Coquitlam have their own language. So Burnaby, they speak their own language. So it's easy if you meet someone from Burnaby to be like, where do you live? Yeah, I live in Burnaby. And you start speaking Burnaby. So you go from speaking English that everybody speaks in Canada or Vancouver to speak Burnaby. And that connects you more than just speak English that everybody knows. Like, hi, you are my people. And then if you're from Surrey, you meet somebody, hey, where are you from? Like, I'm from Vancouver, but where? In Surrey. Like, and then you start speaking Surrey.
In the conversation, both of you do.
Yes.
So that's, So, I mean, this is not similar to England, but there are so many accents in England and even in Yorkshire and in all of those places. I don't think it would be normal behavior for somebody to take on, because they wouldn't know, right? They just don't have that kind of openness to kind of actually take on somebody else's, or if they did, they would be making fun of them. That would be, or they would be making fun of themselves trying to do it. Those two ways, that self-deprecation. But you're talking about something else, which I know we'll get to in this podcast as well, because just from what I've learned from you being in a couple of your classes so far, but there is this sense of openness and being willing to take on somebody else's expression as part of you. So I think that's so exciting to me. Oh my gosh. So there are dialects.
So you only know those language when you're from that space. Because when you go to school, let's say if you go to school, you all learn in English. And then
Yeah.
when you go back home, when you go back to Surrey, you go back to Coquitlam, you start speaking that other language.
Yeah.
So when you meet somebody from there, it's really to be sure, because they can't lie to you. It's from that area. They speak that language
Mm-hmm.
because they
Mm-hmm.
can't speak it that language if they've never been there. Because there's no way they have to learn there. So
Yeah.
it's only if they live there. So that's
Yeah.
basically in one country. There's like a 50 or 60 language in one country.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
In our country, you
Absolutely.
have like 12 language that
Yeah.
you're from. So when you get to visit, because it's not really like our country, like Rwanda is very very small. I feel like Vancouver is bigger than my whole country. It's bigger than the whole Rwanda.
Bigger than Rwanda. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can really like walk those areas. You can walk to Coquitlam, you can walk to Surrey, which means you're able to take on all these languages at the same
Mm.
time. Have the
Mm-hmm.
Kinyarwanda, which is the main language. So
Mm-hmm.
therefore, whenever, which is why it's easier for like people from Africa to come to these countries like Europe, America, and learn other languages because they learn it from the get go, learning other languages. So it's
Uh-huh.
easier for us to speak English. It's easier for us to speak French, Spanish, Arabic, all that languages because
Ah.
we are conditioned, or we start at a very very young age to understand that it's cool to speak more than one language.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, it's amazing to me because it connects so much, I think, to something else that you talk about and is in your bio, that dance is in a sense a language that you speak and express through from the very beginning as part of your culture as well. So it's not something you necessarily train in. Could you talk a little bit about that? I'd
Yeah.
like to talk. I'd like you to talk about it because I'd also then like to lead into all of the things, amazing things that you've managed to initiate and have continue and maintain in Rwanda, and that line between education and then expressing oneself in
Mhm.
dance. You know, there's so much there. There's so much there. Go.
Yeah, it's different. African dance is different, and the different than the Western like world dance, like where you when you think like, hey, what kind of dance do you do? I'm like, hey, I do ballet. Hey, I do jazz, or I do hip hop. For us, dance is like it's like another language. To be honest, is things that our ancestors used to do that are basically passed on to generation and generation. Let's say if they used to go fetch water at the river, the way they used to go there, they will hold back and they'll be dancing. And then when they get home, they say they make fun of their women doing that and they dance, they'll hold their thing. And then as you grow, as the music plays, remember how your dad used to dance, you hold it too, even though you're not doing it right in this DNA age, you still do the dance, but that is because the message that was passed on. So let's
Hmm.
say we never used to have like music instrument, no, let's say radio or speakers. So we'll create our own drum, put on our waist, and as you dance, you're playing the instrument, you're playing the drum to create the music, but also dancing at the same time. But that move is still real to them. You're still playing an invisible drum as you dance, and you create a cool effect or dance motion. And that's basically dance, African dance for us. It's like a language, some messages and lifestyle that have been given or passed on from generation to generation.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Hmm.
So with that, when from country or where or area, let's say the south or the east or the west, where you're from, when you dance, I can tell, oh, you're from the west because of, let's say this area has more sun than the other area. So your dance is related to like hiding from the sun, or the Sahara dance. It tells me where you're from, just your dance, which means there's no like name or style. It just tell me where you're from and your history and your ancestors like a lifestyle. So yeah,
Hmm.
so that's why
Hmm.
it's really hard to like give genre and style of African dance. We just call it African dance.
Yeah, and then the rest, the narrative, the person who's leading, the person who's guiding, is revealed. And on the flip side, your students like me reveal their history, which is so. So that's kind of that's a conversation in itself.
Like, yeah, when you teach like African dance, you have to talk about the history, the culture. It's like it's a whole basically classroom if without you even realizing that you're learning, because you go there
Right.
like, hey, this movie is because my ancestor used to do this, I used to say this, and before you know what they used to say and to do just from a dance class, and you go home, which is different from
Hmm.
hip hop. Like, hey, this is the style, this is the line, we go home.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, 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 that's great. So in Rwanda, how you've been doing such amazing work back home. You have a student or a school, and your students have gone on to win national competitions. And I don't think the winning is the necessarily the main part for you or for me in this conversation. I think it's more that there's the incentive, the goal, the camaraderie, the kind of working towards something, doing it together, all of these things that competitions allow, right? The national thing, and also profile building of those kids, those children, like having something really positive in their lives. Could you talk a little bit about maybe how that came about and what they're doing at the moment and what your involvement in it is now?
So we call Rwanda a young country because because of the 1994
Yeah,
Tutsi genocide. So it was very recent, 1994. It's like yesterday, like
yeah,
within the
absolutely.
90s, right? It's
Yeah.
that it doesn't feel that way, but the 90s was like, it feels like it was yesterday. If
Yeah,
you
in
think
world history, I mean, yeah,
genocide
politics
in the
and yeah,
90s, that's
and
something that
genocide.
used to happen in the, way
Yeah.
back then, but that happened in the 90s for our country, which means everything was destroyed, from uh, kids losing their parents, or wife losing their husband and everything. So it's like us growing up, me as a kid from the 90s, 1992, growing up, we grew up in that environment where everything was just building up. And I use my talent and my love of dance to create that impact, or to be part of the change that was needed back at that time. So we use dance to basically attract street kids, because like the street kids don't have money to go to school, they can't afford school. So how do you educate them, or how do you even attract them to come to learn, even if the school is free? These kids have no interest of doing that, they're on the street, they're just doing drugs. So we use dance, we created a dance school, or a studio, or you guys will call it here. And between our studio is it was free, so there's no payment. We used it to attract those kids, like, hey, everybody loves to dance, come learn some dance move, and then they will come 1 hour of dance class, and then 1 hour of education, where like a hairstylist will come and take all the girls, be like, hey, let me show you how to do something cool with your hair, and they show them how to do hair. Before you they know it, they fall in love of doing hair, they become hairstylish, and they become really good, they can make money, and have
Mm.
bright future. Other kids will learn how to build houses, they become engineers, they'll become scientists, they'll teach them how, it was the age of HIV/AIDS, they'll teach them how to prevent themselves of doing and protect sex and stuff like that. So that's basically what I accomplished or built back home. And the school is still there. It's called it's at the club called the Rafiki, which is a Swahili name of friend or friends. So
Oh,
yeah, that's the school. But I also created one of the best dance group back then there. And me growing up, with dance was viewed as a way for young kids to do drugs, because
right.
like I said, dance is part of our life. So if you say that I am a dancer, it's like, that's that's a way of you saying that I want to do drugs, because you can't be a dancer. Dance is not a thing. We dance every day. So if you want to dance, put on the radio, just dance in front of us. You can't go into a group. So you want to go into that group so you guys can have an opportunity to do drugs, do some, bad stuff. But
Huh.
I used the dance to basically show the other side of dance, that you can actually take a group of young kids and actually use those kids as an example for other kids, that this group can be the one that is actually teaching against drug and alcohol use, you
Yeah.
know and we went from being that those kind of like a positive influence to be a really good dance group, and everybody wanted to do what we are doing, and before you know it, dance, the way our parents and family sees dance and a group of dancers became different, because every family would love to have their kids come to my dance group or be part of that dance because of the good things. We had a foundation. We will go dance to these home where they like shelters. We will, each kid will bring food, clothes, anything that they don't use on a daily basis to those other kids that don't have it, give it to them, at the same time perform for them. And it was a very, very like a positive mindset that was brought, and everybody started doing a dance group. So if you're a kid, you are proud to tell your kid, your parents that, hey, I want to be in a dance group. When back then,
Hmm.
a dance group was seen as a drag, now it's seen as some people that do like cool stuff, help other kids.
Yeah, and work at something that
Yes.
is like, such a positive thing for their own kind of self-esteem and sense of potential, and the group effort. So there's being part of a group to be part of a group, and then there's achieving something together as a group, as a
Mhm.
positive thing, which I think is what they've
Yeah, because back then, for you to have like a foundation, you used to be, you had to be a big company, make a lot of money. But I told
right.
my team like, no, a foundation is just, you can help. There is you have, there is shoes that you don't want to wear anymore. You can throw them away, or you can package them, go to these shelters, give them a dance performance for like 30 minutes, and give it that kid that shoes. Not only is it shoes that she's getting for free, but also somebody that they think is the coolest person they've ever seen. Like,
Hmm.
just give them a gift. They want to give you a gift, but you are the one giving the gift. That gift means even more. So you see, that's the foundation. You can really create a foundation with no capitals, no money. Just be.
Hmm.
We had fans, right? And we will invite all our fans to bring something. Before we know it, is a truck full of stuff. We go to these like shelters. Are like, what is happening? You get, where did you get all this stuff? Like, because it was the age of Facebook, right? We will create an event, and we
Yeah.
had more than 5K people following us. Our create event, more than 5,000 people will show up,
Oh my
and we'll
god.
show up with things. Sometimes we'll be like, okay, we've had enough. We don't need the stuff.
We don't
Yeah,
want any more stuff.
no
But
more
we
stuff.
we
Agree.
dance. We don't. Yeah, we're
We're
not
done for this year.
consumers. Yeah, exactly. We consume movement and energy. We don't. We don't need all of this others. But that's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I still do it here though. I still also do it here with Afrobeat Van.
Yeah.
In September, because I have a
Yeah.
birthday on September 24th, and it's right before the winter season. So
Yeah.
what I do is basically I tell people that come to my class, there's a free class at the end of that month, where all you do is just donate either clothes, blanket, or money that goes to these shelters that, like, it's about to be winter. There's homeless people that need a cover, they need a blanket, and we still do that. I still do that.
Yeah. That's amazing. What brought you to Canada then, Izo?
Canada. What brought me to Canada? With all those amazing things I was doing back home,
Mm.
I had that dream. I had that dream. We're gonna talk about it with my show, but
So you don't need to say too much if you want to
yes.
save it for the show. For today, what do you
Hmm.
think is the thing that's on your mind about why Canada, or why leave, or something a bit more, maybe a little bit more abstract than what you might tell us in the show?
Yeah, it's that sense of like a personal accomplishment, because I create the best dance group in my country. I was competing nationally, and we were so good. And I used to watch YouTube videos, and I'll see people in America, especially LA, dance and compete. I was like, I want to be part of that. I want to
Mm,
compete with the best of the best. I want to teach at the best studio in the world. It was kind of like I moved here to basically expand my knowledge
mhm.
about dance and dance in general, and that's why I moved to Canada. And also, this the American dream, like you're a kid in Africa. that is trying to reach for the stars, and where it's better than doing it in America. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and also that you achieved it in Rwanda,
Mm-hmm.
but it became, not only is the dream a kind of global thing,
Mm-hmm.
but I think what's so amazing is that it was, you made it possible. You followed your dream in Rwanda. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
You started it in Rwanda, like
Yes.
with the national company, with all of those things. Like it's the same dream, right? It's the same thing. But
Mm-hmm.
as you said, Rwanda is a small country.
Let me interrupt you for a minute. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
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 you're saying that, right? Yeah, you're saying that I started my dream in Rwanda, and that's basically kind of like the little bit of the show package
okay,
is the way I did it in Rwanda was hard, right? In
yeah,
terms of like the resources that you can get in Rwanda than the resource that I get here in Canada, right? And that's one of the things that we want you to move in Canada is the resources. Here we have only one studio, right?
yeah,
And that one studio is only one teacher, it's only me, right? But when you move to Canada, there is thousands and thousands of studios with different teacher with different like ideas that you can learn and expand your dance knowledge from. But
hmm,
also the way you do dance in Rwanda is different than how you do dance in Canada, right?
yeah,
This the way mindset, the way African people see dance. It's not an art form. It's the way. It's the lifestyle. What do you mean you're a dancer? What else do you do for a living?
yeah,
That when you come here to like, hey, I'm a dancer. Ooh, an artistic director. How many shows have you created? They're excited to hear about your art. But in Rwanda, they're like, okay, you're a dancer. But what else do you do? You know what I mean?
hmm,
That's kind
hmm,
of like idea, yeah. It's a
yeah.
kind of mindset interview.
And what I think is also happening, and it's probably been happening, I think since 2017, when you
Hmm.
set up Afrobeats Dance
Yes.
Band, you've brought something new
Hmm.
to Vancouver that was
Hmm.
missing, that was lacking. I mean, I think it's obvious that you had to set this
Hmm.
up for you as part. It's part of your dream. It's part of the thing that you came here to do. But
Hmm.
in the time that you have set that up, I know you have a huge following, but I think there's also some frustration there with
Hmm.
you a little bit about it, or about not necessarily how it's being received, or definitely not by the people who know about it and take part in it. Everybody understands, its importance or significance. But could you
Hmm.
talk a little bit, because you have mentioned how it is a little bit maybe disappointing, maybe that's the wrong word, but for you, that there isn't maybe more of it, or there's lack of representation of Black culture in Vancouver. Am I understanding that correctly, or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
could you talk a
Yeah,
bit
that's
about that?
that's correct. Yeah, so yeah, when I moved here, I was very excited to like learn and expand my dance knowledge, and I took a lot of classes and I give you like a little bit of an analogy. It's like
Great.
some people say that I love to cook. I love to cook until they they start working in a restaurant where cooking now is just a job. You're on the clock. They're stressing you out. When is this order coming out? Hey, this look really bad. Where's the garnishing? And all kind of stuff. The stress start to mount out. Now you remember how you used to cook at home or the radio. You make people try your food. They love it. The sauces are perfect. You make the plate, the family eats, and you're like, oh my god, I love cooking. But now you're in the restaurant like, I hate cooking. So that's how in a way that it felt because back home dance is a celebration, right? We dance when you're celebrating anything. You when you're performing, you're showcasing. There is an exchange. I do a move, you do a move. People celebrate us. We love it. It's fun. But here you start feeling like work. You go to a studio, a teacher come in front of you, it tells you what to do. You know what I mean? There's a note, there's a line you need to hit, everything is precise. There is a
Mm,
lack of there's a lack of like a self-expression basically. I
mm,
came here to dance, right? But it feels like I'm not dancing. I'm just following instruction,
mm.
right?
Yeah.
This that freedom of self-expression, that freedom of enjoying the music, the dance, that is taken out because everything is so much structured in a way. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
felt. So I was like, huh, this is not what I like. I love about dance. I love that self-expression. I love that freedom of giving somebody a move and tell them, show me what you can do with it. Play with it. Change it if you feel like it. You know what I mean? Improvise. That's dance for us black people, or where I grew up and
Mm-hmm.
how I grew up. So that's basically what I sometimes tell people, that I start to hate dance. It's not really that I start to hate dance. I start like not enjoying as much as I used to when I used to do it back home. And that's what pushing me to create Afrobeat van, because with African dance, there's not too much structure. There is one move that is done, and there's so many ways you can do that move. The way you feel like, the way you look, the way you stand, and it feels right, and everybody celebrate that. And that's basically what. And I feel like there was also like a lack of black representation. There was lack of, there is hip hop, there's jazz, but if I am black and I'm from Rwanda or Cameroon or Nigeria and I want to dance to my music, where do I go? Nowhere that is offering that stuff. I'm like, let me do that for my
Mm-hmm.
black brothers and sisters from home. They are missing their home, and they're trying to, get back to their roots or connect to their roots. This class is going to help them achieve that. If you're black, you feel like home. If you're someone else, it gives you that freedom of to enjoy dance. When you're cleaning at home, you play radio, or you're in the bathroom or showering, and you're listening to music. That freedom of movement, that's what I want to give to the people. And that's basically what Afrobeat and Afrobeat Van stands for. And that's why I
Mm-hmm.
created it. Yeah.
So great. I'm so glad you did. And I'm so glad it's here. And I know so many people who are also feel the same way. And I just want to talk a little bit about how, as a contemporary dancer, for me, which is such an open term, like, it like almost doesn't mean anything anymore to say, it doesn't categorize anybody really. It's just somebody who is currently dancing, or
Mm-hmm.
currently training or currently performing or like currently creating. So that's all of us. But I do find, as an improviser, I find that freedom. And then in certain classes, I also sometimes I might look like I'm fooling around a little bit because I'm not doing it as strictly as other people, or I'm not necessarily like, I'm allowing for my interpretation to come through, and I can't help it. I'm a choreographer and an improviser. But
Mm-hmm.
within certain contemporary styles and certain dance styles, I feel confident enough to do that because it's who I am, it's what I'm trained in. I can justify those decisions. But if I'm going to a different form, I
Mm-hmm.
experience the same thing that you've talked about, where I feel like I'm not really getting to the form or to what's behind or to the essence of the technique. I'm being taught steps, and the expectation is that I will do those steps correctly. Depending on the teacher, if they
Mm-hmm.
don't express this as, now I want you to dance this, then
Mm-hmm.
it all feels like everybody in the room is just learning the steps.
Mm-hmm.
And so I mention this because in your class, you are adamant with us and you make this part of how you teach us the choreography, because you are teaching us phrases. And I feel very much that they are specific and particular. But I also understand that you need us in the class to show who we are as we are learning this material. And you are adamant with some people that they are not dancing, they are just stepping, essentially. And stepping, not so therefore they are not even doing what the choreography is, because they are not bringing such a huge aspect of what it is to dance these moves, or what it is to dance. I wonder how you feel about that. Like, I know you get frustrated with us. And so, can you
Yeah.
share with our listeners a little bit about that experience? Because it is joyful at the same time. It's not like it's a rigor and it's a strictness. You're asking us to be with ourselves in order to find this expression. So, just for the listeners, I don't want them to think it's like,
Yeah.
like
No, no, I don't get frustrated. It's because this is another analogy I want to use. Growing up, they wanted us to learn French in school, right? And some school didn't have the budget to hire really good speaking French speaking people, so they would just hire random people that think they know how to speak French, and
Right.
they'll teach the kid to say wrong stuff. Let's say you say le ballon, they say lo ballon, and for the last 6 years of their elementary school, they're learning how to say le ballon as lo ballon, right? As they go to university now, they have really good teacher. Now they realize, oh, I've been saying it wrong. But now it's so hard to change it because for the past 6 years, you've been doing it that way. So to switch that switch off and on, it takes also another 6 years to put in the system to change that. So what I think happens here with most Western people is the way that you guys understand dance is different, and it's kind of like weird in a way, because it's called dance. You dance, you do not move. But I feel like the way that studio are designed and the way that the dance industry or system he is they force you guys to just move most of the time. For
Mm.
us, music comes fast. Music plays, you listen to the music, you start to move. For you guys, you create the moves, you learn the moves, then you try to fit in the music. So you see, there's that lack of like a I am dancing to I am moving with the music, right? So that's the idea. So think about it. The teacher comes in class, they stand of you, they show you a bunch of moves. A class is 1 hour. You're gonna realize that you learn the moves for the past for the 50 minutes of the class. You're just learning the moves. And then at least 5 or 10 minutes last class, that's where he plays the music and that's where we dance to the music. You see? So you've been doing for that long. It just get into your system without you realizing it. Before you know it, that's who you are. So you're not a dancer, you're just a mover. You just move in the music, right? And there's nothing wrong about it. It's just that we should be able to, with our classes, design it in a way that the music it takes a biggest part of the dance. So I play the music. As I play the music, I'm dancing to the music. I show you how the beat goes, and then we add the movement. We try to dance with the music. So for 1 hour class, we're dancing for at least 30 minutes or 40 minutes, and then the movement takes less time. I don't know if that makes sense. So that's
Yeah,
how we
absolute sense.
that's the difference between where I'm from, where you hear the music comes first. You hear the music, you start to dance to the music, to move to the music. Here, you'd move and then the music comes. It's basically it's switched around. I make
Yeah,
music the essential part of the dance. You
yeah,
make the movement the essential part of the dance. Because I go to contemporary like shows and they play the guitar or the piano and somebody's moving. I'm like, are you even listening to what is playing? They're just doing moves, but it doesn't fit anywhere in the music. It's like singing off key. I'm like, and people are enjoying it. They're loving, like, look how elegant she is. I'm like, well, yes, she's very, very elegant. She moved elegantly, but she's not dancing. This is supposed to be a dance show. You know what I mean?
yeah. I do, and I feel that I'm my attraction to Afrobeat is because I've also been very frustrated with that in a class structure
Mhm.
for Western style dancing, because that's not how I do it. That's not how I teach, and that's not how I teach contemporary. I one of the things I feel like is lacking, as you're talking about, is listening. Is the
Mhm.
ability to listen, which has a musicality attached to it, which actually, and I think a lot of dancers are not dancers per se, as like, or movers in your terms, in your analogy, are not musical. And
Mhm.
the reason why they are not musical is because they have been taught and trained, and it's entrained in them to actually block out any interruption from the technical, from the body being in them being in control of their own body regardless of what is happening around them, which includes music, right? So for me, there's an element of the listening to your environment, and lots of people do this too in contemporary work, where whether it's music playing or it's the environment itself, you have a sense of where you are and how you are in relation to that. And I think that's an attraction I found to classes that are about dancing to the music. So that's my attraction to Afrobeats, because I feel like I can learn that, and I can learn to have more confidence in that through the way that you teach particularly, but also in the kind of style, and be influenced um, by that. So I'm with you on that. It's a frustration for me, and sometimes it's a comfort zone for me, to be honest, because of course I've been brought up in that world. But can we get to creation?
Yes. So before we do that, I want to tell you how basically how it clicks, like how it clicked. I was taking like hip hop class with friends, like
Okay.
really,
Yeah.
really good dancers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we'd be like, hey, let's go out dancing. Like, okay, we go dancing. We enter the dance floor. The music is playing. I'm like, okay, dance. They glitch. They don't know what to do.
Huh.
Is the music playing? They are professional dancers.
Mm.
They don't know how to move. You know why? There's no there's no there's no one showing them what to do.
Mm.
There's no instructor in front of them showing them what to do. But they are professional dancers. They should be able to actually groove to the music. So you see, the moves comes first, the music after. And that's why we learn how to dance, to be able to hear the music and move with the music,
Mm-hmm.
improvise, right? So these are
Mm-hmm.
professional dancers, but they get to dance, but they don't know how to dance. So now they have a drink, they just stand there the whole night. We go home. I
Mm.
am there dancing my life,
Yeah.
right?
I danced
Because
up a storm last night too.
because
Yeah.
for me, it's music. Oh, the music plays, moves just create itself in my head. Because
Mm.
I was trained to hear the music and improvise and
Mm-hmm.
dance. I am
Yeah.
dancing. So that was like, oh, I see what's happening here. If nobody's showing you what to do, you don't know what to do. And you've been dancing, what, your whole life?
Yeah, well, I think there's also another angle, which I don't want to put these words into your mouth, but I'll say them, is that there are some people who feel like they are above dancing socially because they
Hmm.
are professionals. And
Hmm.
so they don't want to be seen dancing in a social environment because
Hmm.
because they're professional dancers, and they don't do that. There is that,
Yeah.
which is a whole other thing. But can we
Right.
get to creation?
Creation. Yes.
Creation.
Creation.
Um,
All right. The African dream. The African dream is, I call it my baby. I remember sleeping in my little bedroom in Rwanda and seeing myself on one of the biggest stage in the world, showing my work. And here it is. It's about to happen. A boy from Nyamirambo producing 1 hour show in Canada all by himself. That's a dream come true. This show is not just for me. It's for another young man or woman in Africa with a dream that everything is possible. You know, if you put in the work and you believe in your dream, anything is possible. So yeah, so the African dream is in a way an epitome of the American dream. We talk about the American dream, but really, what is the American dream?
yeah.
The American dream is, I grew up in America. I have all these privileges. I went to school. I did nursing. As soon as I graduate, I'm gonna get a job. I'm gonna buy myself a big house, drive the best car. But if you look like me, you go to school, you do nursing, I don't think you have the chance or that opportunity to finish school, find a good job, buy a good car, and a big house. It doesn't work like that because you look like me. So, what's the American dream really? I feel like the American dream is for American or people that doesn't look like me.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that, I came up with the African dream, which is different.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked really, really hard. I am a really, really good dancer, teacher, instructor, choreographer. But to get opportunities to do my work or showcase my work is not easy. And whenever I get this opportunity, because of how hard I've been asking and pleading for this opportunity, sometimes I even forget how good I am. And I feel like I don't deserve them. or I feel like I am lucky to be there,
Mm.
which is different from an American person who doesn't look like me, where they're there like, yeah, I deserve to be there. Heck yeah, I've been working hella hard to be here,
Mhm.
you know? So that's the American dream. Is the epitome of the American dream. It draws the parallel between the way an African person sees and understands things compared to the Westerners, right? It draws from personal experience and things other people have told me or did. So yeah, you really have to watch the show to understand. For example, if you go to Africa, right? If you go to Africa and you talk to locals and you're like, hey, they ask you, hey, what do you do at night? You're like, hey, I'm a mom, or I have a family, and at night we have movie nights. They're like, okay, what is movie night? They don't know what movie night. They don't do movie night. So you're here trying to explain to them what a movie night feels like. Oh, we have a big screen, we have a big couch, we have blankets, we make popcorn. The whole family sit there, watch a movie, eat popcorn. It's beautiful, it's fun, it's memorable. They're like, okay. They don't know popcorn. They don't know a big screen. They don't know a big couch. They live in a hut. All
Mhm.
they do is wake up, go to do their stuff, make food and whatever that is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's basically the Western world, how you see things,
Mhm.
right? And then there's an African way of, let's say me, if I tell you, hey, as African, dance is a way of life.
Mm.
It's how we celebrate. If one of my
Mhm.
sister get married, we're gonna dance. Gonna be okay. But the way you see dance is I go in the studio, I learn a dance, we have a performance, we perform it. Very different way of explaining it.
Yeah.
So
Very
African,
different.
so the African dream is basically draws the power from experience and try to explain from a point of view of an African person and a point of view of a Western or an American person. If
Mhm.
if I was an American telling people about movie night, or if I was a black person telling people about how we dance in Africa, how those two worlds explain their view and lifestyle to somebody who've never experienced that or
Yeah.
lived that, to be
Yeah.
able to understand that. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's basically the African dream. So the first, it has
Yeah.
two part, 30 minutes, so one hour show.
Yeah.
The first 30 minutes is basically the African way of life. It
Mm.
stays in Africa and it shows you how we live life in Africa. If you're
Mm.
black, if you've never been there, I
Mm.
will show you an experience. You're gonna feel like you are there. You're living it with them.
Huh.
And then the second part after the intermission, I'll bring you to America and show you how a black person that lives in America, how he sees the world from their lenses compared to someone who's grown or doesn't look anything like me.
And so, Canada,
Yeah.
do you feel like you have had more opportunity in Canada rather than in like the United States of America? Like you mentioned that a little bit earlier,
Mm.
that um, do you feel the same? Do you feel that the American dream is the Canadian dream in the way that you're talking about it, or are you
So I
a
see America as the continent, America,
y-
you know,
yeah, at the
yeah,
Americas and kind of yeah, yeah. So
Canada.
yeah, so I wonder if there's something about like you mentioned nursing, and
Mhm.
I wonder if we could maybe just touch on that a little bit because I believe you are actually you mentioned nursing, but I think
Mhm.
you are in nursing school right now, aren't you?
Yes. No,
Is
I
that
just
correct?
graduated this year. I
You
graduated in
just
February.
graduated.
Yeah, I
Congratulations.
graduated in February, and because I've been in nursing science schools, that really takes so much time. So I've been in
Yeah.
school for so long and focused my whole time in school. Only had teach classes, so I never had the time to basically sit down, have this free time to like work and create work.
Yeah.
So I want to use these 2 years of sitting of creating my own work artistically and see where it takes me. If it because like I say, I am black, and opportunity that I get from nursing and opportunity that I get from artistic work are different. Like
Yeah.
I'm easily replaceable as a nurse that I can be as an artistic. because what I bring as an artistic is unique, is different. It's so hard to find somebody that thinks or do things the way I do it.
Yeah.
But in nursing, because it's very structured, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow they can wake up like, hey, Isaac, bye bye. We have found somebody to replace you.
Yeah.
Even though I've been in school and studied for this long, I am easily replaceable,
Mm-hmm.
which is different from art. Art, nobody have lived the same life that I've lived. Nobody have sees things the way I see it or create the thing that I can create in an art form. So therefore, I have bigger chance of success. So when I give 2 years a try and see where this takes me with my show, after that, I'm intending to tour with it and see where it takes me.
Yeah.
I can come back to science. I have the paper. All I need is a diploma. As
Yeah.
soon as you get that paper, you're safe. You're safe. Yeah.
Yeah, they can't, that can never be taken away from you, just the same way that your artistic expression and your creativity is with you.
Hmm.
But the goal and the dream is to be able to share that with more people. And
Yes.
both of the professions you've chosen are about similar things, like in it, it's that like positive and care, but they're very different ways of expressing them. I just want to mention the one thing about you've got the paperwork, and you've got from the structured education that you had for the nursing. There's an analogy right there, that people who train in dance in the Western world also get the paper to show that they have been trained in and qualified to dance. I have a PhD in dance, right? So dance research, but at PhD level, it has to be absolutely your own research. But to get there, I went through a whole structured system
Yeah.
of like being told and having the paperwork that
Mhm.
shows I'm qualified to dance, which is kind of also ironic and kind of funny and hilarious that would be a way of certifying somebody as a dancer, which
Mhm.
is but then that speaks to the societal, and the societal
Yeah.
structuring and bureaucratic systems that we are in. So I think it's wonderful because you're playing those, and I continue to play those, like make them work for me, but also make sure that I do it with purpose. I know what it is for me to do
Mhm.
these things. I know how important they are for me, and I want these things to also be in order to help and support and serve others without losing myself in that process. And I think you're the same
Yes.
in that. So I think this has been brilliant. Thank you so much for taking the time with me and for sharing this with listeners. I'm very excited about your show, which will be 16th of September.
At the dance center.
Yeah, at the Scotiabank Dance Centre. It's also part of the open house. It will be the same day as the open house, but it's its own event in the evening. So more details to come on that.
Yes.
I know you've created work already, some other choreographies. You are also an artist, I believe, with Dance West Network. So
Yes.
people can follow you. Izo Dream Chaser is your Instagram, I believe. People can follow you, but Afrobeats Van is
African
also,
band, the
I
business.
really, yeah, I really do encourage people. If you want to peek into the class, have a look, follow the Instagram. You'll get some little teasers in there. That's so great. And yeah, thank you for this, Isaac. And hopefully we'll talk again. But yeah, I wish you all the best for your creation and everything. And thanks so much. So glad you're
No,
here.
thank you for the wonderful conversation.
Yeah,
Appreciate
it's
it.
great. It's
Bye.
awesome. I'll see you in class. Okay.
See ya. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening. We would love for you to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts, as this will help other listeners find us and help us to grow our dance audience. We'll be back next month. In the meantime, you can follow us on Facebook at The Dance Centre, Twitter at Dance Centre, and Instagram at The Dance Centre BC. And if you'd like to support our work, please consider making a donation. Just go to our website at thedancecentre.ca, where you'll find extensive information about our upcoming programs and events. The music for the Dance Centre podcast was composed by James B. Maxwell. Always a pleasure to connect with you through dance. Until next time.